Hey Gracie, did you have fun? Probably not a ton of, as much fun as you're used to. This is Gracie's roadmap to success. Gracie was a little bit off her game. I really, as I mentioned in one of the other videos, I don't think that she is used to being told no in a way that she understands as a no. And so I think that the big, all the behavior problems that we were dealing with her, I think was really more a matter of confusion than anything else. So we went over rules to incorporate. Some of the rules will be not allowed on the furniture. We're just doing this for this video, so this is your last hurrah on the furniture for at least 30 days or as long as the problem is still going on. Everybody hears 30 days only, but if the dog is still barking for 60 days, it might take longer than that. And that would also include the little terrace by the front window because that's where she goes to bark at the UPS guy and skateboarders and everybody else, right? Yes. The height makes her think that she's in more of a position of authority. Now we have dog beds. We have tons of dog beds in the house, which is awesome. So we want to give each one its designated name and teach her to use the dog bed the way that I showed you. Can you hang out for a little bit? This is going to be about 10 minutes, and then I'll give you another bully stick, I promise. Okay, so some of the other rules: not being allowed in the kitchen. Not being allowed to eat food until she has permission to eat her food. Having to sit before we let her in or out of a door. Remember, we go to the door, we say sit once. If she doesn't sit, we walk away for 1 minute, then come back and tell her to sit again once. If she didn't sit within 3 to 5 seconds, walk away for 2 minutes, then for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. Keep doubling the length of time. And as soon as she sits down, open the door like there's a remote control in her butt. Start with whatever direction is more important to her. If she'd rather be outside, start with her inside. If she'd rather be inside, start with her outside. Eventually, you want to do it in both directions. Also, whoever's in front is considered the leader. So every time we go out through the door, the dog should wait for the human to go through first. If we're going up some stairs, the dog should wait and be next to the human or behind them. In the hallway, into bedrooms, into the car, wherever it is. Also making her wait for food. We just got done feeding her. We're going to say, I believe, chow is the command word. And the humans are going to eat first so that she sees them eating in the leadership position. She's in the follower position. Let me see, we went over passive training and petting with a purpose. Passive training is just simply rewarding the dog for whatever it happens to do on its own accord with not any direction from us. So every time Gracie comes to you, pet her and say come. Every time she sits down next to you, pet her and say sit. Every time she lays down, we're gonna pet her and say chill. And if there's anything else she does on a regular basis that we want to repeat as a command, like going to the dog bed, we say mesa, or whatever the word is for each individual dog bed. The more that we do this, we're creating a bit of a vocabulary that helps the dog. Same thing with if the dog's on the couch, we tell the dog to get off. As soon as it gets off, we pet it and we say off. So that way the dog gets at least a reward for getting off the bed or off the furniture. And I would make this also for the furniture or for the sleeping with the humans as well. Now, because she's used to sleeping with the humans and we have an under 1-year-old child in the house, the humans are not getting as much sleep as they would like. They really need to be able to sleep. She's going to put up a fight and protest. So I would suggest the first time we do this, we take her to doggy daycare during the day, pick her up as late as possible so that she just doesn't have any real fight left in her in terms of challenging to be on the bed. Now, throughout the day, or before that, maybe the day before, I would pull out the treats, toss the treats onto the dog bed the way that I showed you, and say the word Cabo or IV or whatever the word is for it. Do that with about 3 to 5 treats, 5 different times throughout the day before, the day of. So that way, when she's being a nuisance, you could toss a treat on the dog bed from your bed, and we're directing her to where to go, and she has some practice for it. The door exercise, make sure that we practice the door. So when we're coming home, text or call one another. If we have friends that are coming over, hey, can you text us a couple minutes when you're a couple minutes away? This gives us an opportunity to wipe our hands and do the things I talked about in the video, and then answer the door in a very measured way. And so she learns, eventually what will happen is she'll go stand next to the carpet around the door and say, are you guys gonna go answer that or what? Right? We wanted you to get to that point. Escalating consequences. The first thing we are going to do is hiss 1 time per incident. Match the intensity of your hiss to the dog's energy. Level 1 hiss like a tss, to a level 10 hiss, which more like a tss. Meet her or exceed her energy level. Only hiss 1 time per incident though. If you hiss, 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 it's going to water it down. It's not going to be effective. And the hiss works the most effectively if you do it before the dog does the wrong thing. And again, there's no entrapment laws for dogs, so if you can set her up, put a treat on the floor, do the leadership exercise like I showed you, or put her, a kid toy on the floor that you know she's going to be interested in, when the dog starts walking towards it, we hiss. If you're enforcing a boundary, I usually hiss when the dog is 1 foot away from the boundary. If it's walking, if it's running towards it at maybe 2 or 3 feet to give it enough time to stop. But the hiss needs to be done before the dog reacts or before it breaks the rule. Rule number 2 is to stand up abruptly, turn to face the dog, and then you're going to pivot and keep the dog in front of you until the dog is stationary. As soon as it's stationary, we're going to take 2 steps back, left foot, right foot, pause for 1 second, then go back to what you are doing. Third consequence, we're going to march directly at the dog until the dog turns sideways to you or greater. As soon as the dog turns sideways, we freeze. Now put your feet back together, and you go to the second consequence. You're pivoting, facing the dog till it's stationary. Then you take the 2 steps backwards, left foot, right foot only. Stop, wait 1 second, then go back to doing what you're doing. The only time that wouldn't apply is if the dog is like maybe on the carpet here around the table, and it's not allowed to be on there because we're eating dinner. So if that's the case, we would bump into the dog and stop enforcing once we reach the limit. That's how we create invisible boundaries. And then the fourth consequence is putting the dog on a leash timeout. Now we're using a martingale collar now, which is better for dogs with a thick neck and a small head like pugs and huskies. We're going to attach the leash to the collar, step on it, in her case about 2 feet away from where it attaches to her head. Wait for her to sit. Don't tell her to sit or don't tell her to lie down. If she throws a temper tantrum, let her. When she sits, she will sit as far away as the leash will allow. So take the foot that's on the leash, that's closest to her, slide it towards her as soon as she sits down to take that tension off of the leash. Once you've done that, and a minute later, sometimes several minutes later, she'll lay down. When she lays down, then we can gently take our foot off. Do it so subtly she doesn't even realize it. Now at this point, still has a leash attached, but she's free. When she walks away, she's going to be dragging the leash. It's dangerous for a dog to drag the leash around unsupervised, so make sure that you're supervising her. If a minute or 2 goes by, she goes back to one of the baby toys or something she's not allowed to do. As she runs by, you can step on the leash, reapply the consequence. Or if a couple minutes go by and she's being good, we detach the leash. It's not quid pro quo, and she understands if I challenge the humans, they're going to outlast me, and eventually I'm going to end up with the leash time out. As soon as I return to a calm and balanced state of mind, I get my freedom restored. Now, she is a very excitable dog, and for a lot of people confuse excited for happy when it comes to dogs. When we come home from work, if she's all excited and jumping up, and our guests come in, tell our guests to ignore her completely. Just keep on walking. Don't stand there because that's going to cause her to jump up, and just walk, pace if you have to. As soon as she starts settling down, reach towards her to pet her. As soon as she starts wiggling, bend at your elbow so you're saying, as your way of saying no, and then just walk away. Don't say no, don't chastise, don't get upset. And then when she calms down, reach over to pet her again. And the first time it'll be like this far. Then the second time it'll be this far. Then it'll be this far. Eventually you get all the way down and you can be petting her. But she'll be calm with all 4 feet on the floor. And what we're teaching her is the only way I'm going to play with you is if you're going to be nice and calm. Just like us, if she's overexcited, she's going to lose. It's going to be harder for her to control herself. And dogs sometimes lose control of their faculties. Some dogs will nip, some dogs will jump up, some dogs will bite, some dogs will bark, whatever it is. Now, the escalating consequences worked really, really well for her, almost too well. Now, as she gets more adjusted to them, she's not going to be as reticent as she was today during the session. She's going to get a little bit more acclimated. But remember, anything that your dog is that you're doing or your dog is doing in your presence, if you don't disagree, she thinks you're cool with. So if she starts barking at the UPS truck, maybe make sure you hiss. If you don't, if that doesn't work, stand up. If that doesn't work, march over. Put your butt facing the UPS truck. Walk towards her until she turns sideways, and don't let her go around you towards that wall. Now, she's going to challenge you. And remember, when she's challenging you, she's not doing it defiantly. She's testing you to see if you have the job taken care of. Once you prove to her that you can handle the job, then she will happily give it up. But until you prove it to her, she's going to keep on trying to challenge and enforce the things herself. Now, we went on structured walk. We have a video above that, a bonus video with the rules for structured walk. She did very, very well for the structured walk. We want to get a leash that's the same width as this martingale collar and a 4-foot long straight plain Jane leash from Petco or PetSmart. It'd be like $8 or $10. Remember that she doesn't go out the door first. The humans go through first, and if people are coming with us, she should be the last one to go through the door. Let me see, what else do we work on? Am I figuring anything? Probably forgetting a lot of things. Make sure we don't walk around her. What's that?
You mentioned that.
I mentioned the furniture, yeah. Don't walk around her. She's in your way, walk through her. She needs to learn a choreography of my job is to get out of the human's way, especially when we have the little one crawling around. Also, we want to use the kennel like I talked about off camera. Keep throwing a treat in there and come up with a new name for it so that it's a positive name. So that way the dog can go in there if the baby starts moving around and the dog wants to get away. Let me see, remember, when we're giving a treat, we're going to give the treat and we're going to say the command word immediately after. We're going to avoid saying good dog, good girl, go potty, just the command word. And don't over pronunciate it. Don't say sit and then sit, sit, sit. So really I say it twice. During the command stage I say sit, and when they sit I pet them under the chin and I say the reward sit as a treat is in their mouth. Remember, you can use this hand motion over her head to put her into a sit, and if she's not paying attention, we practice a little recall, holding your hand up like this. For her perspective, this looks like I'm holding something. The higher it is, the more it's for the less it's for the dog. The lower it is, the more it's for the dog. So when you lower it, start curling your fingers to shield her so she can't see that there's nothing in your hand. Now, I would suggest that you don't practice this with nothing in your hand until you're a couple weeks in. That way, otherwise the dog's like, oh, you fooled me with the hand thing. I'm not going to fall for that again. Yeah, she's going to be exhausted. She's already exhausted. She's going to sleep well after I leave. Let me see. Always follow through. If you tell her to sit and she doesn't sit, and said she gets up and walks away and goes and chews on her bone, you're telling her what I said is not really that important because I'm not following through. Remember, energy. Burning energy is important. So if I tell her to sit, she walks away, get up and follow her. If she walks around this table more than once, I might move the table to the side so she can't walk around it. Eventually she goes through a bedroom, close the door behind you. Finally, she gets herself cornered. Now, it's dangerous to corner an animal. That's why we're not doing it aggressively. We're just doing it methodically like a zombie or a mummy. When she finally finds herself cornered, then bark out the original order, sit, or the original order, or a sit. And then as soon as she sits, walk away. She has to understand that from now on, anytime the humans ask me to do something, they are going to outlast me. And that's one of the dirty secrets of dog behavior, always outlasting your dog. And once she realizes that, for a month you're going to have to work on this, but after about a month she's going to be like, man, the dog man came from Nebraska and now things have changed. Now I've got to do what they want me to do because they're willing to stop what they're doing and follow through the same way we're going to do it with our daughter. If we tell our daughter, hey, can you clear the table, and she sits down and starts playing Hologram 4, I highly doubt the parents are going to say, when she gets done playing hologram, I'm sure she'll clear the table. You're going to go over and turn off the hologram and say, either you clear the table now or you lose hologram privileges, and if you talk back, you're going to lose hoverboard privileges too. So we're going to follow through to let the dog know that we're serious. But passive training, don't disregard passive training. Every time it comes, make sure you pet her and say, come, and reward her for things that you want so that she knows what she can do to make you happy. And these are things that she'll start repeating to try to please you. But the more that we enforce the rules and boundaries, remember, you have 3 seconds to correct or reward her or to make the connection. It's got to be enough repetition. But the more that we correct and take over that leadership job, the less burden of responsibility is going to be on her shoulders, the less she's going to be able to have to worry about barking at the mailman and people passing by. So she's going to follow you guys to sleep. Gracie, are you asleep? Just about, huh? I woke you up. All right, this is Gracie's Roadmap to Success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.